The moment the Galactic Council voted to cut Earth loose, they thought it was over. No more humans at the table, no more unpredictable chaos. But what they didn't know, what no one knew, was that Earth had already been smiling while sharpening knives big enough to carve constellations. The chamber of the Galactic Council glittered with cold opulence. Stars shimmered beyond the transparent dome, casting pale light over delegates who carried themselves with the smug weight of centuries-old empires. Languages layered upon one another like oil and water, some barked, others hissed, a few hummed in tones that vibrated through the bones. At the heart of the assembly, one human stood with his hands politely folded behind his back. Admiral Elias Grant looked entirely ordinary. Average height, a tired smile, eyes that seemed neither threatening nor timid. The council knew better. Or perhaps, they thought they did. The council speaker, a translucent creature whose form pulsed like liquid glass, rippled his body in disdain. Human representative, you have been summoned to answer for your species' rashness. Grant bowed his head slightly, the movement deliberate, like a soldier practicing restraint. Rashness, speaker? We call it survival. Words do matter, don't they? His voice was smooth, even polite, yet every syllable carried a subtle undertone, as if he were sharpening knives with his tongue. Laughter broke from the section of delegates representing the Draxan Dominion, their leader's scaled jaw opening wide. Survival? Earth was warned. Dozens of times. Yet your kind mined the forbidden nebulae, trespassed sacred territories, and built war machines in secret. Grant adjusted his cufflinks, a very human habit that seemed insignificant, until one noticed how calm he looked in the storm of accusations. Machines? Oh no, counselor. Tools. Tools are what people use when they'd rather not get their hands dirty. Would you prefer we fought with our bare hands? That silenced the laughter for a breath too long. Across the chamber, the Kayun delegate, a creature of tendrils and eyes that blinked sideways, shifted uncomfortably. Their voice slithered through translation software. You humans think in violence. It drips from your history like blood from a blade. This council granted you peace. And how did you repay it? By betraying our trust. Grant's lips curved into that infamous human smile. Friendly, faint, and utterly unreadable. That's an interesting interpretation. From our perspective, the betrayal cut the other way. A murmur swept the chamber. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. The speaker's voice hardened. What nonsense is this? Grant lifted his gaze, calm as a surgeon before the first incision. The council knew Earth was vulnerable after the Soul Wars. You offered us treaties, protection, promises. Then, when we were still rebuilding, you withheld aid, blocked our trade, and let pirate fleets raid our colonies. You called it maintaining balance. To us, it looked a lot like strangulation. The silence that followed was thick. Several alien delegates glanced at one another, their species equivalent of raised eyebrows. The truth was not new, but humans had rarely spoken it aloud in this chamber. The Draxan leader snarled. Careful, human. You sit among powers far older and greater than your fledgling species. We could erase your world in a day. Grant chuckled softly, the kind of laugh one might give a waiter who'd spilled water. Erase us? Counselor, forgive me, but haven't you been trying for centuries? And yet, here I am, standing, breathing, speaking. Some delegates hissed. Others leaned forward, intrigued. The speaker pulsed brighter. Enough. You claim betrayal? Very well. What is it you suggest, human? That this council owes you reparations? Grant tilted his head. Oh, no. That would imply debt. I'm simply reminding the council of what happens when you corner a species that has nowhere left to run. A ripple of discomfort passed through the chamber. The insectoid Kriv delegate clattered his mandibles, voice chittering through the translator. Are you issuing a threat? Grant's smile widened only a fraction, though it felt like the room tilted with it. A threat? Oh no. I wouldn't dream of it. Think of it as a forecast. A weather report. Humanity is a storm you believed contained. But storms don't ask permission before they break. Whispers erupted. Translators scrambled to process the metaphor. Some aliens chuckled nervously, unsure if it was bravado or madness. Then the council speaker delivered the decree, sharp as a blade's edge. By order of unanimous vote, humanity is hereby sanctioned. Earth and all her colonies will disarm. Military fleets will be dismantled. Trade will be monitored. Resistance will be met with annihilation. The words struck the chamber like thunder. Grant blinked once, slowly. His face betrayed no anger, no fear. Instead, he straightened his posture, adjusted his collar, and said calmly, "I see." Then the council has made its choice. The speaker leaned forward, sensing triumph. "Do you accept these terms?" Grant looked up at the stars beyond the dome. For a moment, his expression was almost wistful, as though remembering something long buried. Then his voice dropped, quiet yet clear enough to cut through the chamber. "Acceptance is complicated. You see, humanity learned long ago never to gamble without keeping an ace tucked away. You've mistaken our silence for submission. That's a dangerous mistake." The Kriv delegate rattled in alarm. "Speak plainly, human. What do you mean?" Grant met his gaze with that same polite smile. "It means you should ask yourselves why Earth has been so quiet all these years. Why we allowed you to believe we were broken. Why we smiled and nodded through your treaties." He paused, letting the silence ache. "Do you really think we survived this long by showing you everything we had?" The chamber froze. Aliens who had mocked now whispered. Some leaned back, uneasy. A few, the oldest and wisest, looked truly afraid. Grant clasped his hands behind his back again. "Sanction us if you wish. Threaten us with annihilation. Just remember one thing. Humanity never bluffs. When we smile like this," he tilted his head, grin widening with just enough warmth to unsettle, "it's usually too late to run." The council speaker's glow flickered with unease. "Are you claiming Earth possesses weapons not declared to this council?" Grant exhaled slowly, as though savoring the moment. "Claiming? No. Suggesting? Perhaps. Proving? That depends on how long you keep pressing us." The council chamber buzzed with fear and fury. Delegates shouted over one another, languages colliding like storms. Yet through the chaos, Grant stood calm, unmoved, the eye of the hurricane. When the speaker tried to regain order, Grant interrupted with a soft, almost casual remark. "You've made your decree, and I've delivered my answer. The next move is yours. Just know that once this game begins, the board won't look the same again." He turned, without asking permission, and walked toward the exit. Guards shifted nervously, but none dared to block him. As the doors sealed behind him, the council chamber erupted into panic. Whispers of hidden armadas, secret fleets, weapons forged in silence, all clawed at the minds of the alien powers. And Admiral Elias Grant, walking down the polished corridor alone, allowed himself a whisper too soft for any to hear. "Now they'll finally see." The Galactic Council Chamber was a theater of arrogance wrapped in polished marble and holographic banners. Every race in the known sectors had a delegate there: scaled monarchs, crystalline thinkers, insectoid hierarchs, and mammalian nobles who carried themselves as though gravity itself bowed to them. They gathered not to debate, but to conspire. Humanity's name hung in the air like smoke after a fire. Councillor Dvarek of the Keth, a reptilian species with obsidian scales and a voice like grinding stone, slammed a claw against the podium. "The Terrans grow too quickly. They leap centuries in decades. Their fleets double while ours stagnate. And worse, they smile at us while sharpening their blades." Murmurs rippled across the chamber. A crystalline envoy flickered pale blue as their body pulsed with agreement. "Yes. They have a way of cloaking menace with courtesy. They jest, but underneath, something coils." Only one voice opposed them, an elder with feathers fading silver, Councillor Reshtar of the Averii. He leaned forward, wings tucked close, his tone calm but firm. You see shadows because you fear mirrors. Humans are blunt, yes, but they honor their word. They built trade routes where others hoarded. They shared medicines when plagues spread. Have you forgotten? Dvorek bared his teeth. I have not forgotten. I have learned. Look deeper. They smile while tallying weaknesses. Did you not hear what one of their admirals once told me, when I asked why humans never retreat? He said, the Keth lowered his voice into a chilling mimicry, why would we run? If we stand long enough, the other side always blinks first. That line hit harder than any weapon. Even Reshtar shifted uneasily. Across the chamber, another delegate raised a translucent appendage, voice dripping disdain. The humans are unsettling. They have too many sayings about war for a supposedly peaceful species. Too many jokes about killing, delivered with a smile. Their history is blood wrapped in humor. The insectoid envoy from the Zethari clicked its mandibles in irritation. Enough. Philosophy does not win wars. Action does. We must act before Earth roots itself so deeply in the galaxy that even our combined strength cannot dig it out. The vote that followed was not unanimous, but it was decisive. The Council decreed sanctions, blockades, and covert operations designed to starve Earth's fleets before they grew beyond control. For the first time in millennia, the Council broke its own charter. Betrayal was sealed with ceremony. Meanwhile, far from the shining arrogance of the chamber, humanity's representative in those very halls, Ambassador Elias Rourke, stood quietly at the edge of the gallery. He was tall, well-kept, his suit pressed with precision. His manner exuded the calm of a diplomat, the ease of a man who could talk you into giving him your wallet while thanking him for the privilege. He smiled faintly as the vote concluded. Not a smile of joy, not of shock. Something subtler. The kind of smile that made predators second-guess whether they were truly at the top of the food chain. A junior aide whispered at his side, panic lacing every word. Ambassador, they voted against us. Sanctions. Trade strangulation. Perhaps even coordinated strikes. Rourke adjusted his cufflinks, his voice polite and steady. Yes. Quite expected. Expected? The aide hissed. Sir, they've declared war in all but name. Rourke's eyes twinkled with a humor that didn't belong in the situation. And what do we humans do best, aside from sarcasm and inventing kitchen appliances no one needs? The aide blinked, lost. Rourke leaned closer, tone lowering to a conspiratorial whisper. We prepare while everyone thinks we're improvising. Back in the council chamber, Reshtar lingered with Dvorek. The old avian shook his head. You underestimate them. You think them reckless. But you've mistaken patience for weakness, and jokes for naivety. Be wary, Dvorek. You may find that humanity is far more deliberate than you dare imagine. The reptilian scoffed, claws clicking against marble. They will fold. All prey folds when the jaws close. Reshtar only sighed. Then may the stars pity us all if they don't. Later, in the shadowed halls beyond the chamber, Rourke activated a private secure comlink. His voice lost none of its calm polish as he spoke into the encrypted channel. This is Rourke. The Council has made their move. Just as predicted. A voice answered from the other end, steady and clipped, clearly military. Understood. Operation Ashes and Embers remains in place. Rourke allowed himself that faint smile again. Oh, it never left. Tell command to hold position. And remind the admirals. Patience. Let them think we are cornered. Copy. The Armada awaits the word. The channel clicked silent. Rourke adjusted his tie, turned back toward the Grand Chamber where alien delegates congratulated themselves for betraying humanity, and gave them a polite nod. They saw a diplomat acknowledging their authority. What they didn't see, what they could never guess, was that behind those mild eyes sat the architect of their undoing. That night, the Council's great city glittered with spires piercing the black. Alien nobility feasted and toasted their supposed triumph over Earth. Laughter filled banquet halls, smug and careless. Rourke, invited yet seated at the farthest end of the table, swirled his glass of alien wine. The taste was metallic, sharp, and entirely unpleasant. He drank anyway, his expression unchanging. A fellow envoy leaned toward him, an amphibian with slick green skin and a self-satisfied grin. "Ambassador, surely you see this is for your species' good. Too much ambition too quickly, it would only have destroyed you. Better we curb your growth before it consumes you." Rourke tilted his head politely. "A fair point, I suppose." The envoy chuckled, reassured. Then Rourke set the glass down with deliberate care. "Though I must admit, we humans do have a curious trait. We don't like being told what's good for us. It rarely ends well for those who try." The amphibian blinked, the grin faltering. Rourke's smile never wavered. Across the hall, Reshtar observed the exchange. For the first time in decades, the old avian felt the feathers along his neck rise in something dangerously close to fear. Because he alone noticed it, the way Rourke's eyes glimmered not with anger, but calculation. As if the ambassador wasn't mourning humanity's setback, but savoring the next move in a game the council didn't even realize they were playing. By dawn, whispers already swirled across the galaxy. Fleets repositioned. Trade convoys diverted. Spies scrambled. And in the dark silence between stars, where no council ship dared patrol, colossal shadows stirred. Metal giants that had slumbered unseen for decades hummed back to life. Their hulls bore markings erased from public record, their engines burning with power the galaxy thought humanity incapable of wielding. The Armada of destruction was not being built. It was already waiting. The chamber lights dimmed as the holographic map expanded, galaxies stretching like a painter's brushstroke across black canvas. Colored icons marked fleets, alien symbols, tidy and organized. Then new lights appeared. Crimson. Growing. Multiplying. The alien delegates murmured in disbelief. Admiral Koresh, a reptilian warlord whose scales shimmered green, snarled, "Impossible. No species hides this many ships. They'd need entire galaxies of industry." Across the table, Captain Elias Vey merely adjusted his cufflinks. Calm, polite, entirely human. "Oh, don't worry, Admiral. We didn't build them all at once. That would have been excessive." Koresh leaned forward. "Then explain." Elias smiled faintly. "Let's call it long-term savings. Some civilizations hoard gold, others temples. Humans? We stockpile warships. Everyone needs a hobby." The chamber erupted. A winged dignitary, the Talshar envoy, shrieked in outrage, feathers rattling. "This violates every council treaty, every law of peace." "Peace." Elias tilted his head, tone mild. "You mean the peace where Earth was left undefended after your noble council signed it away? Curious kind of peace." The silence following cut deeper than any blade. The trap revealed. The hologram magnified, focusing on the fleet. They weren't uniform like alien armadas. Each ship was different, some sleek and predatory, others brutal blocks of steel, others bristling with spines like underwater predators. 1,000 design philosophies fused into one terrifying armada. Koresh hissed, "What are those? They don't match any classification." Elias tapped a finger on the table. "Ah, that would be the fun part. See, humans recycle. We don't just throw away old war machines. We upgrade, we rewire, we resurrect. Every failed prototype, every retired vessel, mothballed, hidden, waiting." The insectoid scholar from the Vri Collective buzzed nervously. "That fleet is not new. Those are ghosts of centuries." "Exactly." Elias's smile sharpened. "A graveyard, brought back to life. You betrayed Earth. You left us to rot. So we decided, if we were going to die, we'd take the galaxy's rulebook with us." The council cracks. The chamber buzzed with unease. Councillor Sereth of the crystalline Elith tapped the table, voice like ringing glass. "This is bluff. Humanity could never hide an armada of that scale. We monitor every star system. Elias raised a brow. Yes. You monitor the systems you know about. But humans have a funny tradition. When pressured, we vanish off the map. Ask Genghis Khan's enemies. Ask the British Empire's rivals. Ask any gambler who thought the table was rigged until the human dealt a new deck. Koresh snarled again, claws tearing grooves into the table. You intend war, human. Not intend, Elias said quietly. Respond. For the first time, the council felt the weight behind his words. Humor in the shadows. A smaller alien, fur-covered and mouse-like, squeaked out nervously. As surely humans are bluffing. And maybe those ships are holograms. Elias leaned in, dropping his voice. If you'd like, I can have one fire a demonstration volley. Pick a target. Your moon, perhaps. The little alien nearly fainted. Someone in the chamber snorted. Elias glanced sideways. It was the Dvorian delegate, a massive beetle-like creature. Amusement glittered in its compound eyes. Humans, it rumbled, always the tricksters. Even when cornered, they smile. Elias replied smoothly, Oh, we don't smile when cornered. We smile when you are. The first shockwave. A council aide rushed in, chitin legs clattering. Emergency report. Outer defense stations. Destroyed. No survivors. By whom? Sereth demanded, crystalline voice trembling. The aide hesitated. By them. The human fleet. The map shifted again. Crimson icons surged forward, erasing defenses like ink dropped in water. Koresh slammed a claw. You lied. You swore humans were contained, helpless. Elias exhaled softly, as though tired of the pretense. Containment only works if the subject agrees to stay contained. Did you truly think we would? The polite threat. Elias stood. His posture remained relaxed, but his words sharpened. Counselors, let's set the record straight. Earth begged for help. You promised it. Then you betrayed us, bartered away our system for political scraps. And now you sit here, surprised that the species you left to die learned how to kill better than anyone. Seretha's crystalline edges glowed harshly. You threaten the order of the galaxy. Elias's smile didn't waver. Oh no, Counselor. We're offering an alternative. Either you step aside, or history will record this night as the last session of the Galactic Council. Panic in the hall. The chamber dissolved into shouting. Some delegates called for immediate surrender, others for war. A few whispered offers to ally with Earth, if spared. Elias waited, hands clasped behind his back, expression of a man waiting for a coffee refill rather than galactic chaos. One alien shouted, Humans are insane. They'll burn us all. Elias finally turned, eyes cold. Correction. We'll burn only what needs burning. The rest depends on your decisions. Behind the curtain. Back aboard the Resolute, hidden deep in orbit, Commander Mira Hale monitored the Council broadcast. Her crew exchanged nervous glances. Do you think they'll fold? Her lieutenant asked. Mira smirked. Doesn't matter. The trap is already sprung. Trap. She nodded toward the secondary display. The Crimson Armada was only half the truth. Beyond them, further still, entire systems lit up, human colonies long thought lost, fleets rising from hidden docks, weapons dormant for centuries. The Council thinks they're staring at the fire, Mira whispered. They haven't realized yet. They're already inside the furnace. Closing beat. Back in the Council chamber, Elias finally broke the uproar with a single clap. Ladies, gentlemen, assorted insectoid life, let's not waste time. You betrayed us once. That was your mistake. Betray us again, and the stars themselves will remember how humans burn. The chamber fell silent. Koresh whispered, almost to himself, They're not bluffing. Elias's smile widened. Calm, civilized, almost kind. At last, he said softly, someone understands. And outside, the first human warships decloaked, their engines like thunder rolling across the void. The chamber once meant for diplomacy was now a tomb of silence. Holographic stars glittered overhead, a map of the galaxy stretched across the ceiling in serene mockery. Beneath that calm projection, the most powerful beings of 1,000 species sat paralyzed, their voices strangled in their throats. At the center stood Elias Drake, hands clasped behind his back as though he were merely a guest giving a presentation. The faintest smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, pleasant, polite, almost disarmingly human. And that terrified them more than the burning fleets outside. "Esteemed Council," he began softly, tone warm as if delivering a bedtime story. "You once said Earth had no seat here. That we were backward. Too unpredictable. Too fragile." He glanced up at the star map, his voice tightening into iron beneath the silk. "And so, you betrayed us. Left us bleeding." He gestured to the massive screens lining the walls. They flickered alive, showing real-time feeds, alien armadas dissolving into firestorms, their proud warships torn apart by vessels no one even knew existed. The karate delegate, scales glistening with sweat, finally found his voice. This is impossible. Your kind lacked the means, the numbers, the permission?" Elias interrupted, tilting his head. His smile never faltered. "Ah, yes. You assumed we would wait for approval. That humanity, known for building rockets out of spare garage parts, would politely request interstellar blueprints. Fascinating miscalculation." A ripple of nervous whispers surged through the chamber. The Zyran matriarch leaned forward, her many eyes narrowing. "You dare accuse this council of betrayal? It was containment. For the safety of the galaxy." Elias's expression sharpened. "Containment." His voice dropped, low and dangerous. "You embargoed our colonies, sabotaged our stations, poisoned trade routes. You called it containment. We called it war, one you fought with ink and treaties, not honesty." He let the silence linger until it became unbearable. Then he said with deliberate calm, "So humanity built its answer in shadows." The screen shifted again, this time displaying a colossal figure emerging from hyperspace. An entire city wrapped in steel and thrusters, the dreadnought Oblivion. Its silhouette alone dwarfed fleets. Its weapons arrays lit up like constellations. Several alien leaders recoiled. The sight was obscene to them, as if a predator had walked into their nursery. "You cannot be serious," muttered the Erethin Chancellor. "Such monstrosities violate every treaty of war." Elias chuckled, genuine amusement cutting through the tension. "Treaties? Oh, Chancellor, those were your treaties. Humanity was never invited to sign." The chamber erupted, half in outrage, half in fear. "Blasphemy! Impossible! Humans lack the discipline for such engineering." Elias raised one hand. The room obeyed. "Discipline?" he echoed, almost laughing. "You've clearly never met a group of underpaid engineers fueled by caffeine, deadlines, and sheer spite." A strangled sound of disbelief came from the Valari senator. "But why? Why unleash this? The council could have been your ally." "Ally?" Elias's tone turned razor-sharp. He leaned forward on the podium, eyes sweeping the chamber. "You starved Earth until her skies dimmed. You quarantined our children to backwater worlds. You fed us lies of peace while sharpening knives behind your cloaks. Allies do not strangle each other in the dark." The screens flared once more. Fleets dissolved into wreckage. Entire systems lit like funeral pyres. And then, the reveal that made every alien in the chamber lean forward with horror. A timer. 60 minutes. The projection showed coordinated strikes positioned across dozens of Council-aligned strongholds. The human fleet was not improvising, it was synchronized, precise, already set in motion. The Varan delegate hissed, mandibles clattering. "You mean to annihilate us?" Elias straightened, his pleasant facade returning. "No. Humanity doesn't waste effort on annihilation. We prune. We correct. Entirely different philosophies." Correction? the matriarch repeated, voice shaking with disbelief. Elias smiled thinly. Yes. We corrected your assumption that humanity was alone. We corrected your belief that betrayal would go unanswered. And now, we're correcting the balance of power. For the first time, his mask slipped. The warmth drained from his eyes, leaving something glacial beneath. Every alien in the room felt the unspoken truth. This man, this species, was not pleading nor bluffing. They had walked willingly into the wolf's den, mistaking the smile for weakness. The silence broke when a young alien aide whispered, trembling, "They hid all this, right under our stars." Elias turned toward the voice, offering a small bow. "Correct. We've always been there. You simply weren't looking in the right shadows." The chamber's lights flickered. The council's secure comms crackled with desperate chatter from their collapsing fleets. Some begged for reinforcements. Others screamed final transmissions before static claimed them. A nervous delegate blurted, "What do you want, human?" Elias clasped his hands again behind his back, as if lecturing children. "Simple. You will dissolve this council. Effective immediately. The galaxy will no longer be ruled by backroom conspiracies and cowardice. From this day forward, order will be enforced, not debated." "And enforced by who?" spat the karate, though his defiance sounded brittle. Elias's smile sharpened to a blade. "By those you underestimated." The words carried weight heavier than any weapon. Outside, human ships moved like predators circling prey, patient but unrelenting. The matriarch slammed a clawed hand on the table. "You cannot. Humanity cannot hold the galaxy alone." Elias tilted his head in mock thought. "True. But we don't need to. We only need to burn the idea that betrayal is free." For a heartbeat, no one breathed. The holographic map flickered once more, this time showing stars marked in red. Every system complicit in Earth's betrayal glowed like embers waiting for the strike. Elias's final words cut through the chamber like a guillotine. "You taught us treachery," he said, voice low, cold, unflinching. "Now we teach you consequence." The council chamber plunged into silence. Beyond its walls, stars burned.